Recording.
Yes, Belwan. Sorry for interruption. Now you can proceed.
Yes, sir. Okay. Hello and good evening, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Beulah Sundarajan, and I am delighted to welcome our principal, sir, Dr. Sridhara Shetty, our vice principals, ma'am, Dr. Liji Santosh, and our vice principal, sir, Professor Sandesha Shetty. Our POs, Professor Vijay Vishwakarma, sir, and Professor John Menezes, sir, and teacher in charges, Professor Ashish Navik, sir, Professor Swati Shetty, ma'am, and Professor Richa Sharma, ma'am. Our panelists for today's session, Ms. Natasha Mehta, ma'am, Ms. Dhanlakshmi, and Professor John Menezes, sir. I would also like to acknowledge the presence of the participants who have joined in large numbers. Suicides and suicide attempts have a ripple effect that impacts on families, friends, colleagues, communities, and societies. Close to 800,000 people die by suicide every year. Furthermore, for each suicide, there are more than 20 suicide attempts. I am the host of today's webinar, Love You Zindagi, and today we'll be talking about a very crucial topic, and that is suicide and how we can prevent it. On that note, I would like to introduce our first panelist for today's session, Ms. Natasha Mehta, who is a seasoned, charismatic, and intuitive therapist with a master's degree in psychology and a teacher and evaluator with expertise and experience spanning over 10,000 plus years. Currently, she is our college counselor and has been associated with SM Chetty College almost a decade. I would also like to introduce Professor John Menezes, sir, our second panelist, who is a professor in our college of BCom department and NSS program officer. I would also like to introduce Ms. Dhan Lakshmi, our third panelist. She is a student from BCom department and member of MSc. And also, I would like to welcome Radhika ma'am and Pratima ma'am, a member of council department. Thank you, ma'am. Now, the first question I would like to ask you, Natasha ma'am, is, ma'am, what is suicide and what are the causes of it and what are the suicide?
Thank you so much, Beulah, for having me, and thank you for that question. As we begin, I would also like to just introduce three terms which we'll be using very commonly during the webinar. The first term, what we call as ideations or suicidal thoughts or suicidal thinking, right? And Beulah said that, for every suicide, there are 20 times more that, somebody else has thought about it. So those are ideations. Then there is suicide attempt, that is, you try or you work on those thoughts. And the third part is where an individual is able to that act is complete, so we say this person has died by suicide or his death has been caused by suicide. Earlier we used to say committed suicide. Now we don't use this statement commonly, committed suicide, because we want to make it very clear to everybody as mental health professionals and also to each other that this is a very sensitive topic and this happens due to some or the other suffering with the mind. So it is not that somebody is doing it on purpose. That's why we say that somebody is died by suicide rather than saying committed suicide. So these are the three things that I wanted to bring forward first. Beulah said, Beulah, very important question that you asked me, that ma'am, what are the causes of suicide? Now, anybody in the audience can also put it in the chat box if you all know what could cause suicide or what could be the causes. As a mental health professional, I still can say very clearly that there is no one single cause that I say, okay, this is what will cause suicide. Suicide is, suicide in itself, the act is taking one's life, but there could be so many reasons why somebody would want to end their life. And that is one of the reasons why we are here today discussing this so importantly. As Beulah also mentioned the statistics earlier, that around 8,000 people,
100,000 people.
yeah, so in 100,000 people, so many people die of suicide, and this is only the reported legal cases. There are so many cases that go unnoticed. That means the magnitude of this concern is so much that each one has to contribute, each one has to prevent, each one has to save a life, each one has to contribute towards that from the micro level, and thus we can help save so many lives at the macro level. So what could be the causes? There are three main things that we can look at. If I can be allowed to share my screen, would that be okay, Beulah?
Yes, John, sir.
Yeah, I have the
Yes, ma'am.
access.
You have the
Thank
NAT.
you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. The reason why I put it even on screen is so that we get double access in our memory. We understand auditorily as well as visually. So, like I said, three words: ideation, attempt, and death by suicide. There is no single cause. Health concerns are one major risk factor. They increase the risk magnitude. Then environmental causes are one thing that increase, and historical. So we'll just go through it very quickly because we have shortage of time, but we do want to cover a lot of critical information today from different point of views. So health factors, mental health concern could be one of the increasing risk factor. Depression, substance abuse, usage of alcohol or any other drugs, even addiction to porn, media, games. This also can play with the mind and thus leading to suicidal thoughts and probably an attempt later. Bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, personality traits wherein people are not having good coping skills, or too many mood changes, traits of aggression, poor relationships, ability to have good relationships with each other, conduct disorder, wherein antisocial behavior, anxiety disorders, or serious physical health concerns also, including pain. So somebody who's had a chronic serious physical health concern, they are also at high risk for taking their life, or a traumatic brain injury that could have also happened few years ago. It may kind of lead to some or the other trauma, and people may want to end that suffering. Yeah. Then environmentally, there could be access to some lethal, sorry, I forgot to put there, but some weapons around, or some. So if you're already having a thought, this increases the risk factor. If you have a knife around you, or access to poison, or access to some or the other. Just a minute, yeah. So this could also increase the risk factor. Prolonged stress, if somebody's been going through prolonged stress, chronic stress for a very long time, see, the brain has a capacity. Beyond that capacity, a person feels that I want to end this suffering, this is too much, I feel overwhelmed, I cannot take it anymore. Now that could be one of the cause. Harassment, bullying at work, or college, or any other places, relationship problems, unemployment, these could be from the environment of the individual. Stressful life events like rejection, divorce, financial issues, all this could cause certain amount of stress and thus increasing the risk factor. Exposure to other person's suicide, this is something that we really forget to discuss, but it has become very common. When we saw the whole Sushant Singh Rajput episode happen, when we saw earlier also, like, so many of our celebrities, and this was very much out there in the media. I used to get so many calls after this because people started feeling concerned for their own life, or they started suffering so much in their own mind that what is the world come off, it's better to kind of end this life. So this is also one of the things, or seeing too much graphic details, or hearing too much of somebody else. So this can create suffering in an individual's mind. Now, having said that, also, if there has been any historical previous suicide attempts, that is something that we can remember. Why am I saying this is because if you are a family, or if you are a person in the friend circle, or if you're a teacher, just to keep this in mind can be helpful. Any other family history of suicide, or any childhood abuse, neglect, these are the risk factors. Please remember, these are not the causes, but these are the risk factors which increase the risk. Now, there are many signs, warning signs that one does. Generally, people say, like, no, there are no warning signs, but no, there are certain subtle warning signs, and some which are very openly there. People can talk about, this world will be a better place without me. मैं मर जाऊंगा तो किसको फ़र्क पड़ेगा, या फिर मैं दूसरे प्लानट पे चला जाऊंगा तो तुझे कुछ फ़र्क पड़ेगा क्या, इस तरीके के स्टेटमेंट्स पीपल कैन पास. सो डोंट टेक देम वेरी लाइटली, बट हाउएवर जस्ट दिस इज़ टू इंक्रीज द अवेयरनेस. टॉकिंग अबाउट बहुत होपलेस है, लाइफ कहीं जा नहीं रहा है, these kind of statements which generally anybody can pass, or feeling purposelessness, mentioning guilt or shame कि मेरे से ये हो गया, मैंने ये कर दिया, ability to not overcome that and ruminating on that, continuously talking about it. Then any social withdrawal or isolation. So sometimes people just go missing, you don't know what has happened. So एक दो तीन दिन तो हम चला लेते हैं, but fourth fifth day you start wondering what has happened to this person, and sometimes a lot of people go unnoticed for days. That talk further and see what happens. Giving away, this is also very one of the things that has been seen. A person just donating their personal stuff. ये मेरा गिफ्ट है, ये मुझे बहुत पसंद है, ये तू ले जा, ये तू ले जा. This can also be one of the signs that one needs to observe. just saying, calling everybody. This is also something that has been noticed. After a person has died of suicide, when people speak, they understand that, oh yeah, this person called me out of the blue just to say how are you, and I wanted a hug. बहुत दिनों से call नहीं किया, but this is their goodbye call in a way. Then there are also, obviously, there are many less obvious signs also. Signs are easy to miss, but people who are close enough, you know, even for them, it is easy to miss. So I don't want to put like there's no blame on anybody, but this is just about awareness. The more aware we are, the better it is for us. Yes, Beulah, I think I hope I've covered that.
Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am. So the next question goes to John, sir. Sir, according to you, do teachers play a role in spreading awareness and preventing suicide?
Yeah, thank you, Belia, for the question. I hope I'm audible.
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah, so to answer your question, definitely yes, teachers do play a significant role in this aspect. So if I talk at graduate and postgraduate levels, a student needs more of mentorship than a common guidance-based teacher. So here at our institute level, we have teacher mentors who take care of this. Then even at lower grades, if we talk about higher secondary, or if we talk about the secondary or primary level, we have students, or we find students who are highly dependent on the teachers. So some even being considered as life role models. So that is why this is the first aspect, to speak a positive side of it. Then how can teachers play a role over here? So I had listed down a few points. So I thought about this. So in the lecture, spare at least 5 minutes to discuss about life. So ask how is everyone doing in class. Ask a few questions about how good our life has been today, or maybe for the past 1 week. Make the students comfortable and break that silence that is there. Now, and it is very difficult in this online platform, but still, even that 1 minute talk that you have can light up someone else's mood. So probably this is one way you can spread awareness, or you can start by it. Then you can start talking about mental health in the class, probably at least once a week, so that students are reminded that there is something called as mental health that exists. Then light humor in class is very much essential. So this is what I generally do. So crack a joke, maybe show a comic or stand-up video, and then break the silence by discussing something about suicide. So probably what could you have done? So this was, I'll share just an instance. This just happened when Siddharth Shukla passed away. He died of a heart attack. Then we just discussed this. So was it because of stress? Was it because of something else? And then the students opened up. And last year, as Natasha ma'am mentioned, the Sushant Singh Rajput case, we were discussing this in class. So probably students try to open up and we can spread awareness. Another thing could be we could share content related to mental health, which can be a quick read, maybe a 1 minute or 2 minute read, that this can help you to attain mental peace, or this can help you to relieve of a particular tension or pressure. We can educate staff, we can educate parents and students on the symptoms and signs of mental health, just as Natasha ma'am rightly has pointed out, and how we can help out for mental health problems. At some point of time, discuss with the class representatives about certain students who feel critical. So as a teacher, you may not be able to identify it, but as certain class representatives or maybe some student friends can help you out. And talk about failures that you have been through. Generally, we have a tendency, we talk about success. मैंने life में ऐसा किया या मैंने life में वैसा किया. But if possible, try to talk about the failures that you have been through. So a teacher in a failure through as a student, make them feel comfortable and make them feel that failure is a normal part of your life. So I used to share that I did not join an MBA program even though I cracked CET. So that used to be one failure for me. So I generally share this in class. It does not happen only to you, it has happened to me as well. And make the students feel that you are approachable and you can become the first point of contact for guidance at certain matters. The next point I would share might be a bit impossible task, but if it is possible, you can have this. So schedule in 30 minutes of an hour every week where students can become social and focus on something other than the curriculum. So because sometimes it happens that our syllabus becomes so rigid that we cannot go beyond it, or maybe become social with it. So encourage them to chat with their peers, complete a task together, which is non-academic in nature, like maybe a difficult problem or a case study or a challenge. And to end this up, maybe at a later stage, organize a wellness week in the institute. So we can get students to talk to each other and interact with people that they usually wouldn't talk to. So probably a platform like this today. So yes, over to you, Belua.
Ma'am, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, John sir so wonderfully said. I just wanted to, point out this one point you said was so good that, let's not just talk about our glories, let's talk about our stories. So that was so important to share about our, wherever challenges that we have also faced in life. So this is such an important point. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Yes. Okay. So my next question would be for Dhanlakshmi. So Dhanlakshmi, what are the reasons why a person feels suicidal from a teen and a student's perspective?
Thank you, Beulah, for this question. So I think the most common reasons would be a loss of a loved one. Like if you were close to a family member or a friend or someone who has left, so then you feel depressed and then you feel that your purpose of life is gone. So this may increase the chances of suicidal thoughts. The next, I think, would be as a teen, I would say bullying or teasing, body shaming, or maybe a comparison or discrimination or abuse. These things are very common, and each of us goes through this. And when a person tells you that, okay, you look ugly or your complexion is dark or something like that, you start feeling insecure, and then you develop anxiety, and you fear that you will be judged. So this also increases the chances. Then next, I would say end of a relationship. Now, end of a relationship can be any relationship. It can be a friendship, it can be a bond with your family member. And when that relationship or when that bond breaks, you get disconnected with that person. So you start feeling a sense of loneliness, and then you start blaming yourself. So this can also be a risk factor. Then I think any traumatic event that may happen to you, that can also be one of the reason. One of the reason can be one's sexual identity is not accepted in the society. It is very difficult for a person to come out and say that, okay, I am different. But sometimes people do not understand. The people who are around them do not understand, so they feel disappointed, or they feel anxious, and they feel that, okay, this is wrong. They start blaming themselves. So that can also be one of the reason. And from a student's perspective, I would say fear of failure. Examinations, every student has this fear that uh, I might fail in the exam, and you start overthinking about that. So that is also one of the risk factors. So over to you, Beulah.
Okay. Thank you so much, Dhanlakshmi. So before I move forward with my next question to Natasha ma'am, I would like all the participants, if you have any queries, please post it in the chat box earlier so that we could take it in the end of the session. So Natasha ma'am, my next question is for you. Ma'am, can you tell us when suicide is such a big issue and why do we shy away from talking about it?
Yeah. So, thank you, Beulah, for that question, and thank you, Dhanalakshmi, for putting light on such important risk factors for the young adults, especially the fear of failure or feeling a loss in self-identity, confidence. This can be so it can be very difficult spaces to be in. So thank you for putting light on that. Beulah, your question was that why we still don't discuss about it. Yeah, and with the stats so high, what is stopping us? let's look at some statements that may be probably stopping us from discussing it very openly. And I want to open it to the audience also, and we'll try to do it quicker, like fastest finger first. So then, we are in time. Now, can somebody tell me, talking about suicide will lead to or encourage suicide? Is this statement true or false? What do you feel from your heart? Whatever. You all can put it in the chat box quickly. Yes, somebody says that yes, talking about suicide can increase the chances. Okay, false, no, yes. Yes, no, okay. All right. So let's understand. So most of us feel that talking about suicide, or many of us rather feel that talking about suicide can actually encourage suicide. Then why are we here? Then though it will be very difficult. By end of the session, we'll all be wanting or having thoughts, right? No, but that is a myth. The fact is that there is a widespread stigma associated with it, right? And as a result, many people are afraid of talking about it. Talking about suicide not only actually reduces stigma, but it also allows individual or a culture wherein people can feel safe space to come and share their stories. So that's why we need to have more dialogue around it, so that the safe space can be created, and that it could be understood that all of us go through challenges from time to time and may experience these thoughts as a part of those challenges, right? Okay, my next statement to you is, and students, you are all right, okay, whatever you answer is all right. This is a safe space to answer. So suicide only affects to individuals who are having a mental health concern. Is this true or false? Quickly in the chat box. सिर्फ जिनको बीमारी प्रॉब्लम है दिमागी वही लोग सुसाइड से अफेक्ट होते हैं, ये सही है या गलत है? नहीं, फॉल्स 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 फॉल्स. ओके, ऑल राइट. No, so thankfully, maximum of us are saying that no, this is a false statement. Yes, it is a myth. The truth is that yes, individuals with mental health illness are at high risk, like what we had discussed earlier with schizophrenia, bipolar, substance abuse, etc., depression. But it's not just those people. People like what Dhanalakshmi also mentioned rightly, what Sir also mentioned rightly, that there could be any kind of problems in one's life that could make somebody feel prone towards doing this or ending one's life. And why one wants to end their life? Because they don't want to end the life, actually they want to end their suffering. So this could be relationship problems or other stressors. Somebody could be going through long criminal matters, legal matters, property matters, loss of home, loss of a loved one, any other, abuse that they could have faced, rejection, like Dhanalakshmi very rightly had mentioned about rejection, or, not getting the validation from the environment. This is prolonged. Imagine a child, wanting to get validation from their parents, but throughout their journey up to the age now, to 20, 22 years, the parent has never believed. So much of self-doubt can be created, right? So this will increase the thought that then who am I? What is my purpose? Who loves me? Who cares for me, right? So this can also cause suicidal thoughts or also go up to attempts. Another, once an individual is suicidal, he or she will always remain suicidal. Quickly in the chat box, come on. Yes or no? Is this false or is this true? एक बार जिसने सुसाइड के बारे में सोच लिया, पूरा लाइफ वो लोग सुसाइडल ही रहेंगे. सबको मालूम पड़ गया है. First one is myth, is it? Okay, so yes, my dear children, this is also a myth. However, we have to understand that generally an active suicidal ideation or a thought is often short term. It is only momentary, and it is at situation specific, because the situation or the emotional pressure that is created is so high. So studies have shown that approximately 54% of individuals who have died by suicide did not have a mental health disorder. But for those who had mental illness, the proper treatment can help and reduce the symptoms, like we had understood that earlier. But however, it is the painful emotion that wants them to take their life. Once that pain subsides through better coping mechanism or through help from the environment, the brain goes back to a normal, relaxed structure where, we have clarity about reality and truth of life, and we are not just overwhelmed by emotions. So it's not necessary that an individual once who is suicidal will continue to remain suicidal. हो सकता है वो थॉट आया हो आपको दिन में आज, बट शाम तक आपका मूड बहुत अच्छा हो सकता है. बट सम अमाउंट ऑफ मॉनिटरिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड. maybe by your loved ones or you by your own self, if you've identified that these thoughts are coming, make sure that you go ahead and talk to somebody. Yeah, most suicides happen suddenly without warning. A lot of people, come up to me and say, but ma'am, this was just out of the blue, somebody just took their life. They don't come and discuss like that when they are going through so much. That is why these awareness seminars. And secondly, warning signs, we had discussed earlier also in the first question that Beulah put forward, that there are warning signs, little or big, subtle or major. There are warning signs. Some people who are closer to you may be able to catch on those warning signs, but of course it's not 100%, but warning signs somewhere are there. But if we know what to look for, then we can look for, right? People who die by suicide are selfish and take the easy way out. I had a very close friend who died by suicide, and another friend of mine said this guy was very selfish to have done this to his friends, to his family. I will never do that. But this came as a very shock to me. Even though I am a mental health professional and I have people so close in my circuit, still they have this myth in their mind. No, people who die by suicide are not selfish. Typically, they die because they want to live, but they want the suffering to end. These individuals are suffering so deeply that they feel helpless and hopeless. Individuals who experience suicidal ideation do not do so by choice. It is something that comes as a illness or as a trigger, or something has gone amiss in the brain. That is why we have to reiterate that somebody died by suicide, not committed suicide. It was not a choice. They are not simply thinking of themselves, but rather they are going through a very serious mental health symptom due to either an illness or a difficult life situation. And here, most of the time, many people also feel that I am a burden and it's better I go away than my loved ones can live happily. So that is really not a selfless act, but it's just that somebody is going through a tough time with their mind. Yeah, as a society, I think we should talk about it. We've not been able to, but we will from now on keep having these dialogues to raise the awareness and to advocate for positive mental health. I hope that answers the question, Dula. I hope I was able to do justice.
Yes, ma'am. It definitely answered, and thank you for putting such clarity.
Thank you.
My next question is to John, sir. Sir, how can teachers identify warning signs of mental health concerns among students?
Okay, so some of the points have already been taken up by Natasha ma'am. So I would like to add some more points to this. So yes, as a teacher, we can have some options like these. Like one is, you have an active or a bright student who stops participating in class, or maybe showing less participation in the classroom discussions or sessions. So that could be one way to identify or to hint out this. Another could be frequent absenteeism in class. So probably that student was very regular in FY or SY, and suddenly he has not come to the lectures, or maybe he's probably missing out on a lot of lectures. Or you can find students who have been not attending lectures at all. So maybe a 0% case could also be the topic over here. So probably we had a student, or I know a student, an alumni, so who never used to attend lectures because he had a fear of speaking with people. So we tried to solve this issue, but it could not be cleared. So we referred it to a mental health professional. And then he stopped coming to college. He even had this problem. He never used to talk to people outside his own house. So yes, this can also be a student behaving weird. Then another point where we can identify signs is when you lose a close family member. So when the student loses a close family member, there are signs of depression that he may show out or vent out. So probably that could be one of the signs where there could be mental health concern we could look out for. A student giving vague reasons for not attending lectures, like some of them could be very fake. For example, he will say, I was out of town, or some of them will give very silly reasons. Mera network nahi tha. So 1 day, 2 days is okay. He was absent for a long period and they say network nahi tha. Some of them will say, मैं इधर नहीं था, मैं गाँव में था. So try to find out whether these reasons are vague to you or not. Then recognize signs of depressed mood, anxiety, and panic attacks. Now, maybe in the online world, it is a bit difficult, but you can get this through various students, or maybe through family members. You can keep family members in loop. Ask them that if there is anything that is going on with the student at home or at any other place, please report it to us. If possible, we can try to solve this issue. Then a student getting involved in fights, maybe online or the offline mode, or there is a desire to badly hurt others, or he keeps putting up the suicide status updates. So maybe for no reason, or he's sharing posts related to suicide. So probably that is one way which could be a warning sign. Another could be a repeated use of drugs or alcohol. So as ma'am had mentioned, substance abuse. So as a teacher, I know it is next to impossible to identify this, and it is students consider that teacher is interfering in our lives. So, but what a teacher can do is you can get this information from your student friends, or notice any absurd behavior that is there in the class or maybe outside. And you will find some students who pass a lot of hate comments. So there could be hate comments, there could be negative remarks, probably which is very unusual, or there is an aggressive behavior in the classroom, or you find them sharing aggressive posts online. So that could be some signs where I feel could be raising mental health concerns. So yes, over to you, Beola.
Yeah, thank you so much, sir. Okay, Dhanlakshmi, my next question is to you. What would you do if you or oneself is feeling suicidal?
Thank you for the question, Luna. So here I think there's this one formula which I think everyone should follow. So for the reference, I'll just put that in the chat box. Okay. So the formula, what is the formula? You have one choice. Okay, you have one choice. You have 8 feelings, and then you should have patience and trust the process. Now, what is this one choice? You have one choice to stay alive, stay present, stay aware that, okay, I need to approach someone, make this choice. It's okay to feel in a certain way, but you should know that it is time that I should approach someone, and you should do that because that is important. At some point, okay, you can heal yourself by yourself, but at some point you need that professional help. So you need to make that choice. That is very important. The next is 8 feelings. Now these 8 feelings are unpleasant feelings that we all feel, and it is okay to feel in a certain way. I'll just put those in as well. These are the 8 feelings. One is sadness, shame, helplessness, anger, vulnerability, embarrassment, disappointment, and frustration. Now, why do I call this unpleasant feelings? Because these make you uncomfortable. These make you uncomfortable, but you should, you should surpass these feelings. And for that, you should seek help. And the next step is to be patient and trust the process. Once you try to seek the professional help, you should be patient. Give yourself the time to grieve, give yourself the time to come out of it. Give yourself the time to understand the process. Trust the process. Let it happen, but come out of it. Cope up with that. So coming back to your question, Beulah, I think if I would feel that obviously these are the formulas this is the formula I would follow, and when it comes becomes important to seek the help, I would first go to a teacher, because teacher itself has a lot of patience. They are a good listener. They have the experience to take care of 100 students at the same time. They have the patience. They will listen to you if you talk to them. And if sometimes they are not able to help, they will obviously help you connect to someone who is professional. Maybe that can be a therapist or a counselor. Now we have a counselor in our college, but just in case you don't have, you should have some suicide helpline numbers handy. So we would put up those numbers in the chat box in some time. So you should have these numbers as well. And you can approach your friends, talk to your friends about this. Tell them, okay, I am feeling in a certain way. So talk to them. And then you can approach your parents. Most of them are not comfortable approaching their parents. So you can approach anybody from your family as well, your cousins, or maybe anybody, your uncle, aunt, anybody. So it is important to analyze, but also to seek help. So I hope I've made justice to your question, Bula.
Yes, Lakshmi. Thank you so much. My next question is for you, Natasha ma'am. Ma'am, what can we do to prevent suicide and save a life? Ma'am, you're on mute.
Even after a year. Yeah, I'm sorry, I forgot to unmute myself. So thank you, Beulah, for that question. I think one of the most important questions, like every other question in the webinar. So there are two formulas. Now, Beulah, Dhanalakshmi has given me this idea, formula bolne ka, theek hai? So when I made two formulas, one formula is called as QPR and one formula is called as ABC. Okay. So what is QPR? Let me share that with you. So Q stands for question. If somebody comes to you, you ask them the right questions. Once you ask them the right questions, you open up their heart, you gain their confidence, then you persuade. Persuade means you get them in confidence and push them very gently towards seeking help. So QPR. R means refer. Refer where? To the right place where they can get the help. So suppose if your friend is coming to you and talking to you, then the right questions. What questions we should not ask, that I will just show you on the screen. But what questions we should ask, gain the confidence, and then you refer the person either to the teacher or to a mental health professional, like how Dhanalakshmi mentioned. So the idea is QPR. So for you all to remember that. Okay. So let me share QPR. Okay. So QPR actually means question, persuade, and refer. All right. Now don't ask loose statements like this कि क्या तेरे मम्मी पापा क्या सोचेंगे, क्या ऐसे कर रहा है. तो इससे क्या होगा, सामने वाला बंद हो जाएगा. They will close themselves because they'll think you don't want to know what's going on. You are more judgmental or prejudiced in that way, right? So don't avoid asking such questions. अभी तो जिंदगी में बहुत देखना है, मत कर. Even as adults we should be very careful because we have this general statement as adults. अभी तो कितना कुछ है लाइफ में, कितने चैलेंजेस. You have to avoid asking such questions. Then ये सब नाटक है तुम्हारी जनरेशन का, या फिर ज़्यादा नाटक मत कर, चल वड़ा पाव खाते हैं. Now this is something that we have to avoid taking it so lightly. स्ट्रेस डिप्रेशन सब दिमाग में होता है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं होता, क्या बच्चे जैसा रो रहा है, स्ट्रॉन्ग बनो, वीक मत बनो, इतने में हार मान ली. These statements are not the cue that I'm talking about, right? What is the cue that I'm talking about is how can I help you? How can I be of help to you? In what way can I serve you? Whatever you talk between you and me will stay confidential. This is something that we have to say as a statement, and then of course gently approach a mental health professional. Also keep a constant vigilance. This is in times, especially when you are in a group and you know that this friend is there and he is going through a tough time. Like for example, there's a loss of a loved one that has happened. एक आध बार आप में से कोई, not like crazily vigilance, right? You're not like inspector sitting on the head, but just once in a while, how are you, khana khaya, just keeping in touch, so that making the person know that they are cared for in a very gentle way. Okay, it shouldn't be like you are being so overprotective that they can't get space to breathe. So it has to be in a gentle way. And work as a team, very important. A team of teachers, a team of students, a team of the family together, right? A protective net, which I think also John sir mentioned earlier about, and probably he will also talk more on that. So we have that net. And empathy. Empathy does not mean having sympathy. Please understand, the students, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Sympathy is you get into the problem with that person. वो भी रो रहा है, आप भी बैठ के रो. वो भी ऐसे बोल रहा है, अरे दुनिया खराब हो गई, आप भी बोल रहे हो हाँ दुनिया खराब हो गई. तो इसमें क्या हो जाएगा, स्ट्रेस डबल हो जाएगा. एम्पैथी मीन्स you are with an as if quality, you are in the shoe of the person, so okay, from a objective point of view, you're not getting into subjective point of view. from an objective point of view, you are maintaining a clarity and you are able to give that person some more clarity about, you know, what are the nice things that you can count on in life, or at least take that person, change of environment will happen. So these kind of things is something you have to do. ABC means always be connected. Always be connected. Stay in touch, students, because in this time, as John sir very rightly mentioned, see, this is a time where we are all on the internet, but our inner nets are not getting strong. We have to strengthen our inner networks with each other, inner networks with your own inside, what even Dhanalakshmi was mentioning about, right? So choosing life. Now, so remember one thing, your one act, that is acknowledgement, care, and referring to somebody, telling somebody, can actually save a life. Don't take it lightly. We are not here for certificates. We are here to save a life, prevent a suicide. It can be our own life, it can be life of the people around us that we love. So yes, I hope I could answer your question, Dula.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much, ma'am. John, sir, my next question is to you. How can teachers respond and how do they build a safety net among students?
Yeah, thank you, Beulah, for the question. Beulah, for the question. Sorry, I get your name every time wrong.
It's okay,
So
sir.
Beulah, for the question. And yeah, before I answer your question, this is something which I've observed when I was a student. So some teachers feel that this is not our task. ये मेरा काम नहीं है तुम्हारा mental health का problem solve करने का. So the teacher has spoken up directly to me. How can I contribute? So go to a psychologist. This is not of my concern. I don't solve personal issues of yours. I have my own work. So this is what I have been through as a student. Probably not from every teacher, but there are some teachers which have made me feel like this. So one thing I could put across is, for these kind of category of teachers, is let the student speak to you. Although it is not a problem that you feel is yours, sometimes students discuss their problems and then they feel light. You may not solve their problem. So one thing I could like jokingly put forward is, if you have seen that 5-star ad, कुछ नहीं करने से भी अच्छा हो जाता है. So something like that. Another point could be, allow students to share their feelings without judgment and make them feel that they are in a supportive environment. Now, a normal tendency is, anyone comes up to us, we will judge them. अरे तेरे साथ ऐसे ही होना था. I told you not to go behind that girl or boy, but still you're not listening. हो गया ना breakup finally. So this is what is a normal tendency. Next time that student will not come to you at any point of time. Now, a safe net feeling is, open up the conversation and tell them to bindas bol. So share everything that you want and vent it out. So probably this could take 15 minutes, half an hour, even a day. But this is how you can build a safety net. So probably that investment of your time can save a life over there. So probably that student will feel sometime कि अरे हाँ मैम ने या सर ने सुना मेरा बात. So I did not go somewhere else, or I did not go to a wrong path. Another thing I will put jokingly is, don't be a popular teacher. Be an approachable teacher. So generally people are popular, they get fascinated कि अरे हाँ बहुत popular teacher है, हम लोग का नहीं सुनेगा. So if you are an approachable teacher, people will come to you. Maybe for anything. They want guidance. They have a problem going on, or if there is any issue with the family. Then another point could be, if a student tells you that something has happened to them. For example, some of the points that Dhanalakshmi listed out could be bullying, getting ragged, assaulted, even abused at some point of time. As a teacher, you need to believe them कि हाँ इनके साथ हुआ हो सकता है. No one will come and tell कि मेरे को उसने मतलब abuse किया. No one will come and openly tell you this. So the first point is, believe them. Second would be, cross check with someone else. Is this right or not? Don't tell the student, but cross check with someone else. Now, and if a student feels that at some point of time that their cries are not answered, teacher भाव नहीं दे रहा है, teacher को फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है, then at some point of time they will stop themselves from sharing anything. So if they feel that कि अरे ये मैम के साथ शेयर करता था तो कुछ प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व होता था मेरा, but that ma'am is only not listening. So that could be a point. They will isolate themselves, they will not speak to anyone, and that problem will be inside them and may lead to a major problem. So in these instances, support your student in whatever way works best for them. Now, if the need be, you can refer this case to your immediate superior, could be your HOD or maybe your colleague, but take them in confidence that, see, this is the case. And if possible, if it is still not getting solved, take this issue up with a mental health professional. Now, this is what our institute actually does. So we have a team of mental health professionals, we have the counseling section, and as teachers or as subject teachers or classes, we refer certain cases to our HODs. We take them in, we take the student in confidence and we put it forward. Now, some more points if I would like to share is, if you find your student missing from lectures, so in this online pattern, 3 to 5 days is an ideal time. So either they could be sick or there could be some other issue. But if they are absent for more than 3 or 5 days continuously, take the concern to contact them first. Try to find out the cause. Take them in confidence. So don't pass unreal judgments. So this is some of the bad habits we have. Not only teachers, anyone, we have this one small bad habit. We tend to pass judgment. So please do not be judgmental. Now, one more thing is what I would put across, be omnipresent. Now, by omnipresent, I mean be available on call, maybe on a chat. Email would not be preferable. I know students don't email nowadays. Be available on social media for the student, because you will find a student more active on social media than in the class. Now, I know it is a bit taxing and it is not possible because beyond working hours, we have our own lives, but these calls come only beyond the working hours. So it is one of the best ways to stay connected with the students. And to add it up, we have the mental health club in our college who also takes up these issues. And lastly, when it is difficult to reach each and every student, you can have them divided in groups of maybe 5 or 7. So 5 or 7 could be a close net where students share, give them projects, assignments, and in that 5 or 7, assign student mentors. So who will take care of each and everyone in the group. They will support them probably academically or maybe extracurricular wise or maybe in other ways possible. So they are there together, and if they find anything going up wrong in that group, so they will update that respective teacher. So this is how I feel teachers can play a significant role over here. Over to you, Beola.
Thank you so much, sir. Before I move to my final question, I would request the participants to post their queries earlier itself so that we could take it in the end of the session. Okay. Now, Dhanlakshmi, my final question is for you. What would you do if a friend approaches you who feels suicidal, and how would you help them?
Okay, Beulah, thank you for the question. So I think the most important thing, which in general everybody should learn, that is to listen. Listen to what a person has to say. So when a friend comes to you and says this, that I am feeling suicidal or something like that, so listen to that person. Ask them, what is the reason? So that is one thing we can do. And if when they are telling you what the actual reason is, give them that emotional validation. Now, emotional validation is a very new term. So what does emotional validation means? Emotional validation is a process, which one second. Emotional validation is a process of learning or understanding or maybe expressing that you accept that person's emotions or that person's emotional experience. Now if a child comes and says to their parent ki mummy mera eraser ho gaya, and he starts crying, now what will a mother say? तो eraser के लिए रो रहा है, eraser को जाने दे, मैं और लेके आके दूंगी. That's what a mother says. But the mother here is doing, she is sort of judging, rejecting and ignoring the child's emotions. She's saying ki you are crying for an eraser. So here she is judging. The next is she said, Arey, let it go. I'll bring a new one. So here she is rejecting and ignoring the child's emotion. And this is something we should not do. A person is feeling in a certain way and they have their own reasons to feel in that way. So let them feel. What you can do is you can tell them, okay, as Natasha ma'am mentioned, that you can ask them these statements like, are you okay? Or how can I help you? Or just if they are sharing something, tell them, okay, this thing will stay between us. You know, it is going to be confidential. Tell this. Or you can help them obviously approach someone. So say these statements that makes the person comfortable with you. So do that, and do not pass those statements ki yaar what like अभी तो जिंदगी में बहुत देखना है, as Natasha ma'am mentioned earlier, कि अभी तो जिंदगी में बहुत देखना है, ये क्या नाटक है. All this is something we hear, but we shouldn't say this. So we should learn not to pass these judgments. When a person is coming to you, when a person is approaching you, when will a person approach you? Because that person trusts you. That person believes that, okay, she is going to help me, so I should approach him or her. So make them comfortable. Then what you can do is you can help them connect to someone who can help them better than you, because you are also a friend. Maybe you are not experienced in these things, so you can obviously connect them to someone who's experienced. Obviously that can be, one of them can be a teacher, counselor, therapist, anybody. Then do something that you all love, something. And then one thing is, once you help the person connect, you can just follow up on the person, check whether he is okay or not, drop a text, drop a message, go and meet them. And this will sort of make them feel that, okay, I have someone who is taking care of me, who supports me, who understands what I'm going through. So this will help the person become better. I hope I've answered your question, Bhola.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dhanlakshmi. Now I would request, okay, Natasha ma'am, you want to add something to this?
Yeah, sorry, not really expert comments here, but I just want to say thank you, Dhanalakshmi, for pointing out this thing. And while you were talking, one point also came to my mind about emotional resilience. Children, all of us who are present here today, it's very important to work on our emotional resilience. This is a part of your emotional intelligence. Life will throw challenges. There will be invalidation from this or the other source. How do you cope with it? How do you take it? What is your attitude? This really makes a difference. So Dhanalakshmi is right over here, wherein we have to, of course, approach other people. We have to talk, but at the same time, along with that, we have to work how our bones, to make our bones strong, we have calcium. Similarly, to make our mental muscles strong, we have to take up some challenges, and challenges are thrown to us, like how Dhanalakshmi mentioned initially, so that we kind of also learn something and build our mental muscle. So it's very important to pay attention to that also. This is what I feel. So I wanted to share that. Yeah. Thank you, Beulah, for the little time.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to request Swati Shetty to carry on with the question and answer session. Over to you, Swati.
Thank you, Beulah. We have 3 questions over here. I'll take the first one. Is the pandemic, that is COVID, has become one of the reasons for suicidal thoughts?
Ma'am, sir, or Dhanlakshmi, any of you would like to answer this question? Or should we repeat the question?
Yeah. Has the pandemic led to increase in suicidal thoughts,
Yes.
right? That's the question, no? Okay. Pratima, would you like to take that? I can take that.
You can take that, Natasha, but yes, because the pandemic has actually brought on a lot of other emotions of isolation, fear, and if there are already pre-existing difficulties or depressive symptoms are already there, it could have exacerbated these. The pandemic would have exacerbated these. So, and that could have. I don't have the stats in terms of whether that is related to heightened suicide cases or anything. I'm not. I'm not. It wouldn't be right on my part to say that. But yes, it would have brought on a lot of mental health issues to the fore. The pandemic has definitely brought that in front because of it's an unprecedented situation, and hence these feelings have the isolation is actually one of the causes of that I'm not what is going to happen, uncertainty of many things, unable to do things that you were anyway able to do earlier. And that was one of the things, not necessarily related to suicide but related to mental health conditions. Natasha, if you have stats, I don't know about suicide and COVID situation.
And the pandemic, no. I recently saw that there was a hike. There was a hike, but I don't know the exact stats. But I just read, before coming to this webinar, that there is definitely a hike. But like ma'am said, and I totally agree to what ma'am said, that yes, isolation and not having, sometimes a lot of old memories also that have come up, or family relations, because people are not having that space. We are always so close to each other and similar. So this has led to several referrals coming from that aspect. So yes, I would say that somewhere we have seen, connected to the pandemic, there has been suicidal ideations and thoughts. I don't know how high in number of stats, but yes, connected to the pandemic has been there. Thank you, Pratham.
Yeah,
Uh,
Natasha
the-
ma'am, if I could add one more point over here.
Please.
Yeah, so one more aspect could be like it is already a pandemic induced thing that people have lost jobs. So probably there could be a sole earning member in the family and he was earning maybe 3 or 5,000. Now, no job means no income. So there have been like we must have come across cases where people are traveling from maybe here to their native place on foot. So some of them would have thought, कि अभी क्या करेगा? So even we had found students and parents when we spoke to them that we lost a family member. He was the only member, so earning member. So what do we do? Probably this could also be some pandemic induced reason for suicidal thoughts. Although they may have not have come across directly as suicidal, but yes, I feel that it could have led or it could lead to this.
Yeah, a sense of helplessness. Very true, John sir. This has come up.
the another question is, ma'am, what if the person who is having suicidal thoughts can't pinpoint the causes and doesn't have the courage to approach for help? What can they do to help themselves?
Yeah. So if the person, anybody would like to take it up?
Ma'am, you can go ahead.
Yeah, so if you're not able to pinpoint a cause, like I said, there is no one cause, there is no one straight answer to this. But however, at least there is an awareness that there is a suffering. And when there is an awareness, how Dhanalakshmi shared the formula, it's a choice. You want to continue, prolong that suffering, or you want to do something about it. You don't want to go and approach somebody, okay, that's a secondary thing. What is it that you can do in the moment to divert and to that would lead you to a better state of mind? There is a lot of sound in the background. It's okay. Okay. So what can you do to divert and to change some mood lifters or shifters that you could use? Now that is something also one has to consider. But this is absolutely a choice that one must make. So of course you're not able to identify, you will have to talk, you will have to build an insight. But if you're not ready at the moment, use some mood lifters and shifters. But I will always encourage that you do come and talk with somebody, whether it's a friend, or you can write it down. You'll get more clarity, or even writing gives you a lot of clarity, so you could do that also, that what's happening. Or otherwise there are other ways that you can lift and shift your mood. Of course it's a music बहुत सारा चीज़ें हैं, this you are all aware of. But you can also start counting what you appreciate in your life, what you are grateful for. I know it's a very challenging time already, so that is why I would encourage you to come and speak to somebody. But if not, then use those mood lifters and shifters to at least change that environment and then seek the further step. Ma'am, you'd like to add anything?
No, Natasha, you have covered it.
Radhika, would you like to add something?
No. And Natasha ma'am has covered it very beautifully. But yes, just to second what she's saying, I would encourage everybody to keep monitoring your thoughts and do not hesitate to seek medical or professional or psychological help whenever that's required.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, just to make it, very open. There are times when even not that we are gods, okay, we are not. Even we go through a lot of challenging situations, like each one of us, right? And though we have the coping mechanism, but when it comes to our own minds, there may be times that I would want to have a word with somebody. And I have trained my own self also to come out of that conditioning and go out there and talk to somebody, even though I know so many coping mechanisms. But it's good to get perspective, because what I am thinking from is from a subjective point of view. I'm inside it, so I can't see the whole picture. But when there's somebody I trust, when there is a safe space, I talk to them, they give me an objective view, and that really, really helps. So, like Radhika ma'am also said, professional help helps. Whether it's from your teacher, a very close, mature friend, or a professional, it's up to you.
I would like to add a point here. As the question said, that if you don't have courage to approach for help, as I mentioned, it's your choice if you want to go and seek for help or no. So it is completely your choice, but you should do that. It is necessary. So you should do that. And if there are some sort of emotions, like if you're feeling sad, or if you have anger, or if you're feeling disappointed, feel that, feel that and come out of it. It's said that it just takes the minimum time to get out of an emotion is 90 seconds. In 90 seconds, you can just come out of that feeling, or write it down. Writing it down is a very good way, actually. And I do it sometimes, so it really helps.
Yeah, also students, just wanted to reiterate here, though we spoke about confidentiality earlier, if somebody comes and talks to you, do make it a point to let them know that this stays between us, that this is confidential. So that's just something that I would, don't just go around spreading, "Arey isko aisa ho gaya, arey isko aisa ho gaya." That's not the sensitive way of handling, even if you mean well, even if your intention is good. Yes, ma'am.
On that only, actually, when Dhanalakshmi also said, when a friend is coming and telling you or sharing some suicidal thoughts, and might say ki don't, I'm just letting you, lekin kisi ko batana nahi. And your immediate reaction is ki, theek hai, main nahi bataungi. But there is something called shared confidentiality. You cannot keep that with yourself. You will have to somehow cajole and persuade your friend, nahi, mujhe, see, together we want to help you. How can we help you? The question part, that the QPR one that Natasha was talking about, how we can help you. But that's the shared confidentiality is important, because you, even though the friend is saying, "Meri kasam hai, kisi ko nahi batana, dekho, this is what I'm going through, and I'm going to do this," or even telling you the entire plan ki main abhi kya karne wala hu ya kya karne wali hu. But you cannot keep this to yourself. You might feel that you will have lost a friend, but you will have saved a life. So please do share it with the people who can help, and reach out to, they will say कि मेरे parent को मत बताना, but reach out to a mental health professional immediately,
Yeah, I think
so
that's,
that they can guide
yeah,
you.
yeah, that's very important about shared confidentiality, Pratima ma'am. Yeah, so but students, just be very sensitive about it. We are not here to spread gossip. We have to go to the right sources, like ma'am is saying. Share it with a mental health professional or a teacher that you really trust, who can kind of, and of course, the whole point where she's saying persuade, cajole, or win faith and confidence of that person, so that you both can do it. They are not feeling that you're doing it behind their back. So yeah, very, very important point. Don't keep it alone to yourself. Like ma'am said, very important. You may lose a friend, but you will save a life. It's okay if they are angry at you for some time, but their life will be saved.
There's one more question, ma'am. There are people who show no symptoms but still have suicidal thoughts. How can we help them?
Yeah, it's possible that there are no external symptoms, but you do have a sense that this life should end, or there are some times when you feel like that, but these people have to come and talk. They have to come and share it with somebody. Nobody can enter the mind of these people and get these thoughts out. So I feel there has to be a system wherein they must come and share with someone that this is what we are feeling on consistent basis, and also you have to check the degree that the feelings are for. Once in a while, if a thought crosses, okay, but if it's crossing too much too often, or even if it's once in a while, it's good to come and talk. Let's talk was one of the highlights, one of the years for what was that, ma'am? For the Let's Talk was for this thing, no? World Health Organization mental health, yeah.
It was last year's mental health awareness one.
Yeah, let's talk. So talking is important. Communicate. Always be connected. Connection should not only come from the outside, but even from you to the outside.
Another one is what to do if a family doesn't consider emotional issues like depression serious until it affects our health.
Yeah, that's a very big one. So, why they don't consider? This is something one has to understand. What do you all think? Why mental health issues are not, why people don't consider them, even though they are serious?
I think maybe even they are not aware of it, of what it can do to a person. They are not taught about it. They do not know about it. They have been brought up in this way that mental health कुछ नहीं है, कुछ term है ही नहीं. So we cannot blame them as well. They were not aware of it. They are not aware now as well. So yeah.
True that. People are experts at, avoiding or ignoring their own health. And even in general, if you have like you just drag along with life, even when you have like a issue, or sometimes there is a minor fracture, अरे कुछ नहीं है, चलना है, चलने दो. That चलता है attitude, and what Dhanalakshmi said very rightly, first thing, there's no awareness. Even other students are putting it in the box. There's no education about it. So psycho-education. And then it's not something that can be seen, no, evidently. बुखार है तो पता चलता है. Fracture really में है तो पता चलता है. But ये फ्रैक्चर है, जो मन का फ्रैक्चर है, वो दिखता ही नहीं है. सो पीपल फाइंड इट मोर ईजियर टू इग्नोर इट till it becomes so huge that it comes to a level where one's functioning is affected. So why wait for that day? At least you as a generation are much more aware, but it takes a while. There is a shift that is happening. We are going through a transition. Mental health was not even discussed in our countries. Say 15 years ago, it was really not in a state where it is today. Even 5 years ago. But today the dialogue is there. Today so much is happening. So let's be hopeful about it. But you as a generation will bring that change for sure. And you have professionals in your college and your teachers are there. So make sure to reach out to somebody. So we can, we can close that gap that way. Ma'am, you want to add something? Radhika? Okay, all right. Are we exceeding a little bit of our time? Beulah, how is it for time?
Ma'am, I guess we can cover a few more questions.
Sure.
Another question is, does overthinking eventually lead to depression or other mental health issues? How to avoid overthinking?
Underthink. No, that will be very easy. So yes, overanalysis leads to paralysis. That is an age-old statement that we have been hearing. There are multiple ways that we can break that pattern. It's a habit. We have to learn to break that habit. Ma'am, you want to say something?
No, see, depends on the kind of thoughts also that are coming. How negative that is. This is called ruminating, on the same kind of thoughts, which can be debilitating in the sense it's affecting your day-to-day work. That itself should, looking and listening to your body, listening to your mind. What are these thoughts actually? And if it's continuing, and that means there is a loop, and you need to break that, as Natasha ma'am was telling earlier. So then, when you know, and this recognition of it, acknowledging that there is these repetitive thoughts, you immediately need to seek help, because repetitive thoughts that are leading nowhere. It said, no, you're like sitting in a rocking chair, you're just going, it's not going anywhere. It's just there. So you need to come out of that, and for that you might need some help, or writing it down. Some self-help things also can help, either what is your lifestyle, what is your lifestyle, in the sense, are you out in nature, are you able to pursue any of your hobbies, are you able to talk to someone, speak to someone? If these thoughts are occurring, that means that thoughts are requiring closure. They are wanting closure at some point. So for that, you would probably need to talk and discuss it with a professional, or a teacher, or a friend. You don't always need to go to a professional if you feel so hesitant at times. Speak to your teacher who is close to. And here in this college, you have teachers who are very sensitive, and very nice to hear John sir's, answers also to many of these questions that were put. And your friends who are very sensitive, like Dhanlakshmi was also talking about. So these, and then your next steps can be, in terms of, say, speaking to a professional. Yeah, medication, meditation, yes. Meditation, Natasha will definitely talk about meditation and medication. Sometimes, if with mental health, you might need to have medication as well. If you need to be, if there is a diagnosis, by a psychiatrist. But meditation definitely helps to control the thoughts. Natasha is our yoga guru also. She will talk to you about that.
I also need to meditate now. No, so you're right, ma'am. Ma'am said so nicely that meditation and medication, they come from the same roots. So meditation is actually medicative for your soul, for your, your brain gets a little pause in between. So the wear and tear, even scientifically, if you look, the wear and tear of the mind can happen. Like there's a more mental health hygiene over there that happens. So meditation really, really helps. But if it is a critical issue, along with meditation, medication is important. So meditation in regular life is medication. Like how food is medication. We used to say na pehle ki what you eat is what you become. Similarly, what are the healthy habits that you're doing every day? And meditation, prayer, these are one of the few healthy habits to make your mind calm down, to come to a healthy healing space. But when critical issues are there, medical issues are there, medication along with meditation is important. And also one more thing, if you are depressive, please understand this, if you are depressive, then meditation might not help immediately. Once you are out of it, once your energies are a little high, your dopamines are functioning fine, then meditation is good. But if you are already depressive, then और भी isolation में जाना is not advisable. It's a good place to visit, solitude, but not a good place to stay. So seek help, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Viola, just to add one more thing to what ma'am said. So nowadays there is this trend going on like 21-day challenge. So this is also scientifically proven that if you want to inculcate a particular habit, and if you practice that or maybe do it for a particular set of 21 days, eventually there is a high chance that that habit will remain with you, or you will cultivate that particular habit. So, but there is a small disclaimer which I will put forward with this. So please do not practice it alone. Have someone who is there with you to motivate you to complete this challenge as well. So otherwise, I tried this out. I tried this alone. मैंने सोचा आज से book पढ़ेंगे हम लोग. I bought 10 reference books. आज तक नहीं पढ़ा मैंने. So you need someone to motivate you or to push you forward. Same case would be happening if you are joining a gym as well. आज से मैं gym जाएगा. So what happens 2 or 3 days, it dies out. So you need to have someone who motivates you as well.
Yeah, it's a nice idea, sir. The buddy system is a great idea.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much, Natasha ma'am, Dhanlakshmi, Pratima ma'am, and Radhika ma'am for answering all the questions.
Pratima ma'am wants to say, yeah.
I want to thank you, Viola. Excellent questions, actually, that you put to all three panelists. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Very
ma'am.
nice moderation, Beulah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your information and for such an informative webinar. Before I go ahead with the vote of thanks, Natasha ma'am, John sir, and Dhanlakshmi, do you guys have any parting statement that you want to highlight it in the end of the session?
Sure, I would like to say, Viola, that suicide is preventable if we know what to do and what to look for. So always be aware, know which places to contact, have some helpline numbers with you. And life is beautiful. It really, really is beautiful. Anytime there is a very challenging time, remember this too shall pass. We've had dark nights and we've had sunrises also happening, and you know this by experience. So that way, life is really wonderful. But this is preventable. We all have to keep our eyes and ears open. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you
Divya.
so much, ma'am. John sir, you would like to add something to it?
Yeah, I'll add. So suicidal thoughts and tendencies are temporary in nature, as we all discussed, but the after effects that would come are permanent as well as damaging. So you do not know what could happen. You may lose a life, you may injure yourself, maybe physically, maybe mentally, or maybe spiritually at times. And also it is also like infatuation. So you fall in love, you see a girl or you see a boy, वो एक सेकंड का होता है. You see them regularly, you fall in love. Same is the case with a suicidal tendency. It comes to you as a flash. You will think, should I or should I not? Like, she loves me not. He loves me not. Like that kind of a game goes on. But if you give into it, like we do not know what could happen later on. So it is temporary, but if you cling to it, it will remain permanent with you. So find a person who can solve this issue at the earliest.
Okay. Thank you so much, sir. Dhanlakshmi, would you want to add something to it?
Yes, I would like to add. So there's this thing which I think everybody should keep in mind, that life doesn't happen to you. It happens for you. You know, don't say that why is this happening or what is this happening. It is happening to you so that you move, so that you grow, so that you take the next step and move forward. It happens to you so that you become the best version of yourself. That's all I have to add.
Thank you so much, Dhanlakshmi. Pratima ma'am and Radhika ma'am, would you want to add before we end with the vote of thanks?
No, just love you, Zindagi. Your title said it all, actually. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Absolutely.
ma'am.
Yes, please continue.
Yes. Now I would like to call upon Mansi Chaube, and this is volunteer, to give the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Viola. I am Mansi Chaube, NSS volunteer on behalf of NSS Unitarian Sanghas Open College of Science, Commerce and Management Study. Extend my heartfelt gratitude and thank our panelists of the day, Ms. Natasha Mehta ma'am, Mr. John Meneses sir, Ms. Dhanlakshmi, who spread their time to enlighten this webinar on suicide prevention. I am glad that all of us got a chance to be a part of such an informative webinar. I would also like to thank our benevolent management for supporting us, Principal Sir Dr. Sridhara Shetty, Vice Principal Ma'am Dr. Lichi Santosh, Vice Principal Sir Professor Sandesha Shetty, Program Officer Professor Vijay Vishwakarma Sir and Professor John Meneses Sir, Teacher in charge Professor Ashish Navik Sir, Professor Swati Shetty Ma'am, and Professor Richa Sharma ma'am for supporting us and guiding us throughout the event. I will also like to thank our technical team for providing Zoom platform, my teammates who worked behind the scene to make this event successful. And last but not least, I would like to thank all my dear teachers, non-teaching staff, all my dear participants for devoting their time and making this webinar a huge success. And I hope you all enjoyed this wonderful webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Swati. I would request the participants before leaving to kindly fill the feedback form.
Yeah, and if I may just take this opportunity, there is a mental health club, and we meet for the mental health club sessions once every month, wherein we talk about mental health related topics. Last time we spoke about LGBTQ community, and soon we'll be talking about covering topics like depression and how today we covered about suicide. So anxiety, depression, these are the other topics. Dance movement related therapy. So many other speakers would be coming, and maybe they'll be honoring us with their uh, own professional skills. So I would appreciate if you all students would like. You can always join us for the mental health club sessions as well. So that's it. Thanks, Viola.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Over to you, Vijay sir.
Yeah, thank you so much, Natasha ma'am, John sir, Dhanalakshmi. It was a very nice and wonderful session, and Pratima ma'am for gracing the occasion. Thank you so much. And yes, as the title says, love you Zindagi. So yes, you should love your Zindagi, whatever you have, and enjoy your life. And thank you so much, all my wonderful volunteers, for doing it very effectively. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir.
So if
End
we
this meeting.
fill the feedback form, we can leave, Viola?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so much, Beulah. Wonderful. Mansi, Beulah, thank you so much for your moderation. Love being with you. Love my team. Thank you so much. We had fun making this happen. And thank you all the participants for your wonderful questions and your presence. So yeah, see you all soon. Bye.
Thank you, Natasha ma'am. Thank you,
Thank you.
Pratima ma'am.
Thank you, John.
For the team, for this opportunity. Actually, this was a very great session.
Yeah,
Probably
It's
one
very
of-
nice, sir. John sir, very nice to hear, teacher perspectives, and you brought in your own flavor of your, experiences as well. Excellent. Thank you. And Dhanalakshmi, great. I like this concept of having this panel of, a mental health professional, a teacher, a lecturer, and a student.
Yeah, Pratima ma'am encouraged this, that this format would be nice. So thank you, ma'am, for suggesting this. Wonderful.
Thank you so much, Natasha ma'am, for your
Thank you.
for giving me this opportunity and also for supporting. And thank you, John sir. He is the constant supporter of mine, and also all the volunteers. Thank you so much for helping us out. Yeah, thank you, Pratima ma'am. Yes, sir.
Thank you, Dhanalakshmi. You were so awesome. Thank you. See you all soon. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Radhika.
Bye, ma'am. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye, ma'am.
Beulah, it was very nice. बहुत अच्छी